Hi, and welcome to another episode of Wine and Wisdom. I'm Thomas Le Hoang, and you're listening to the TL podcast, where knowledge is shared and no one takes themselves too seriously.
No, I just have to get it, but it's probably going to be the same place.
I don't know if Macca's takes bookings at the moment.
Actually, Mike is having a very good
You're
moment.
trying to avoid responsibility, Chris. Thomas has been playing the sub story all week. It must have been Stephen Thompson's fault, was it? Is that? No one did anything. No one did anything.
Anyway.
Hang on, that was
It's Thomas being blamed no matter what happens.
Ah,
A mini one, Cam, a mini one.
World's biggest violin.
I'm always the bad guy. Oh no.
Oh, anyways.
Bad haircut.
Oh.
That was seamless. Leo Wang, that was seamless coming on today, mate. Smooth sailing in straight on the line. Unbelievable. No hiccups. Where's this? I lost that. Unreal. Straight live onto the web.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Only took about 400 episodes, but we got there.
Oh, Chris.
Hey, I'm paying for lunch. Might as well use up my points there. Right?
It's gonna be dinner, man. So you don't know. This time we might be really 23.
Surcharge.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to pay the surcharge for after 4 o'clock and all that stuff, mate. So,
Yeah, jeez.
public holiday.
Fun.
Public holiday.
It's a public holiday somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
Let's drink. Thomas, you
Let's
chose
drink.
Bordeaux this week. Why Bordeaux?
Yeah, what's with the Bordeaux?
Well, Bordeaux, as us Australians like
Bordeaux.
Bordeaux.
Just to make it difficult for you guys, that's all. So
It's actually quite easy.
I thought that after Austria, it'd be good to be just in Bordeaux and travel that way, you know. So Bordeaux, obviously, on the other side of France. So
taking the same route Hitler took.
On the Atlantic side, and it's probably one of the biggest region in the world, if not the biggest.
What'd you get?
Yeah.
What'd you get? You.
You want me to go first?
No, so I got here Chateau Latour, 2015. All right.
Cadillac.
Bottle in the castle itself, so it should be nice.
What is it?
Cadillac.
So man, every Bordeaux, probably it's a nice red. That's all that you can have. If anyone turns up with a white, I'll have a problem.
I was quite upset looking at my choice.
Oh.
What did you get?
I got a Paarde Haut-Bailly. I don't know.
Good
2016.
Okay.
And
It's
it's a bit of a blend. It's a 47% intonation, 47% body language, and 6% cab franc. So it looks like it's a cab Merlot. It's 47% Merlot, 47% cab Sav, and 6% cab franc. So we'll see.
Nice.
That's all cap.
I have.
Hey?
What is it?
Come on, yours.
Mouton Cadet. Did I say that properly, Thomas?
Nice.
So 2018. So I think it. Well, I don't think I know. It's from Baron Philippe Rothschild. So he's the youngest of the family and owns the Chateau Mouton. So I think it's so hard to say. You never know if you're saying
Say it in
wrong.
Aussie, mate. We're trying to do French.
Yeah.
No good.
Anyways, but it had a cork in it, and as Chris says, if it has a cork, it must be good.
So, funny story for me trying to find my wine.
Is it French?
I walk up to the French section, having a look at all the labels for something made in Bordeaux, and then I looked up, there's a French section and then a Bordeaux section.
Ooh.
It made it a little bit easier for me to pick the wine. So I got this wine comes from about 35 minutes northwest of Bordeaux. It's a 2014 Ducluzeau. It's called,
That's how it's pronounced.
Ducluzeau or something they pronounce it. 2015, sorry. And it's got 4 grapes in it. It's the Shiraz, Cab Franc, Cab Merlot, Cab Sauv and Merlot.
God, you're cheap. I thought the budget on this podcast was $100.
Mate, cheap. There's still a $50 bottle of wine.
It was $21.
No, it wasn't. Not this one.
Mate, I saw, and you got a members offer on it too. I think it was down to
40, 49 with the member. Anyway, freaking hell. Whatever. Judge me.
At least he got a French wine cam. You got to be thankful for that.
just south of Perth.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Oh, cheers. Yeah.
Hello.
Cheers.
What's in the news this week?
Nothing important.
That's so good. What's in the news? I mean, obviously the big one, interest rates went up again.
Hey.
Who would have thought?
No, we picked it. Everyone knew they would. Come on.
It's fairly average, that one, actually.
Really?
Not the
You're
best.
not a big red fan, though, are you?
Hey?
You're not a big red fan, are you?
Oh, I still know a good one when I get one.
They're the glasses from the. Those glasses are from the Flybuys offer at Coles.
That's pure crystal, my friend.
You mean your wife bought them?
It's got a big D on it. We won't go any further. There wasn't much in the news, was it? Interest rates again, but we're over that. They've become like COVID. No one talks about it.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm actually trying to rack my brain a little bit as to what's really made news. I didn't really pay too much attention, to be honest.
Nothing I saw that was a standout.
Good job, riveting stuff. Great television.
Melbourne Cup. Anyone have a win on the Melbourne Cup?
Yeah. No, unfortunately. Did you guys?
No, a mate of mine who follows
that one.
A mate of mine follows the horses quite a lot, and I saw him that morning, and he said such and such a horse, and I put some money on it, and it come fourth last or something. So
yeah.
It's the hardest race to back, but to pick a winner. But anyway,
but I reckon if the stats ever come out, this might have less winners than ever in history, because I went to the pub to watch it, and it was the quietest pub. There's always some goose who's got the winner who's yahooing and doing a cartwheel. It was quiet. It was death.
Yeah.
no one had the bloody horse. So,
yeah. Well, it was a big roughie. I think, wasn't it paying $21 or something? So
yeah, it paid well.
Yeah. I think the quaddie paid 31,000 if you were lucky enough to get that up.
Have you guys ever been to the Cup? Have you guys gone and experienced the whole? It's a good day, I must say. It's a good day. That whole weekend, there's a few races there, Ladies' Day and Oaks Day and all this sort of thing. And even after the night, I mean, all the clubs and restaurants are full and the casino's busy, and it's a good atmosphere. I went down quite a few years ago, many years ago, for a weekend with a few mates. Really good time. So even if you hate horses, but you like just getting out and socialising, it's a good trip.
Yeah,
it's really good trip.
Amazing. Yeah. Very good. Shall we get into this topic?
Yeah, let's get in there.
So we're going to talk about real estate and partners, as in spouses. Yes, big one. It was a big. I took it in many ways, I think, like the role that they play and the importance and what they probably put up with sometimes as well. So, yeah, I sort of got a little bit, thinking about it. It sort of reminds you of the importance of a spouse in a relationship when you are in sales in general, I think. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you guys, your take on it and where you went with it.
You'll be quiet today, Lou. What's happening?
Me? No.
Not like really. You use 50 words instead of 500.
Yeah, well.
Use 5. That's not like you.
Renee Brown hasn't written a book on this one yet.
Well, funny you should say that.
I tried to Google. I tried to find out the divorce rate amongst real estate agents, but the number I came up with was a lot.
Yeah.
They're world famous for having a high divorce rate, but no one will give me the number. I did get compare the agent, I did get rate my agent, all these other things come up, but not the divorce rate. Yeah. Similarly, the rate of murderous real estate agents also a lot. Every second person you see on the news that's killed someone's a real estate agent. So there's problems in our industry, and it's all spouse related, I think.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's all spouse related, but yeah.
But there's no secret. To have a successful real estate career doesn't necessarily mean to have a successful marriage.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And vice versa. I mean, you could be a very average real estate agent. Doesn't mean you've got a great marriage. But the two can go in hand quite well. And I think it takes a lot of personal growth and a lot of openness within your relationship to sort of to be able to let both of them join.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning. I think people need to really understand that if you enter the career of real estate, you're never entering the career by yourself. I think that's one of the things we need to understand. If you're a surgeon, you can become a surgeon by yourself. If you're a lawyer, you can go to a law firm, and unless you have aspiration to becoming a partner, you're doing this by yourself. But in real estate, somehow, when you enter real estate, your partner, your family has to enter real estate at the same time. There's no division. There's no such thing as when I leave work, that's it, I've left work. Somehow the real estate agent goes from the office to the home office.
Yeah.
And so I personally would like to start by saying that unless really your partner understand that it takes a full partnership in real estate, you're not going to last. And I need you to really ask them, do you understand these things? Do you understand the sacrifices we have? And do you understand that we have to pursue some of those goals together, that I'm not here on my own? Unless you have that, real estate's not going to do well for you.
Yeah.
I think it goes, there's a saying that real estate's not a job, it's a lifestyle, and that might sound a bit wankerish, but it is the case 100%. You've seen some beautiful real estate careers ruined by unsupportive spouses or trouble at home, and then I've seen some beautiful relationships ruined by real estate, essentially by not having those chats in the first place. I mean, people think we're overpaid. It's a big stigma with real estate agents, but you know, the phone, we are working 24/7 the majority of the time in some capacity, and you don't know until you're in it. And you know, one of the questions we try and sort out, even in the interview stage, we try and ascertain the support network at home for someone that we're thinking of employing. And obviously you get the lip service and they know what it's all about. And they're right behind me. But then, you know, a week in and they're not home by 7 o'clock, all of a sudden there's a phone call saying, why aren't you home? And why aren't you helping with the housework? And why aren't you helping with the kids? And why aren't you this? And why aren't you that? And then all of a sudden, whoever it is has got a choice to make. And it goes both ways. It's not a male-female thing. There's plenty of, you know, the best salesperson in our network's a female, and she to have the support of her husband at home doing the same stuff. So it's not a gender-based discussion by any stretch of the imagination. You can't. I say to the young people now that are working under us, that are single, just run like hell while you still can, because the minute there's someone else in your life, it changes. The very second, and that goes from your first date, it's already changed, because all of a sudden you head somewhere else and there's someone else you're thinking about, and as that relationship progresses, the balance goes more and more out of whack. So, you know, I was already married and already had a few kids when I started in real estate, and I see some of these guys and girls that are 20 years old sort of cruising, and I just say to them, just bloody run, because the minute there's someone else in your life, it's all going to change, whether it be for better or worse. So, highly important.
Absolutely. And I think
so. Let's talk about some of the things that people can do really to make it work. So let's start with that first before we talk about the dangers. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I think the thing is with us as real estate agents, we can tend to feel or become victim to always being and feeling like we're on call, because let's face it, we're not in a 9 to 5 industry. People need us at all times, of all hours, on all days. I've had people call me on Christmas Day. So I think the thing is with a relationship, or any relationship, the key to nourishing that or nurturing that relationship is to prioritize it. And I think that's the thing when we do have spouses and children and whatever, we can't lose sight of the fact that they're in our lives as well. Even though we feel like we're on call, and we probably are on call a lot, we've got to not forget to prioritize those that truly matter at the end of the day. And I think that's a big, it was hard for me initially to try and, where do you draw the line? But like, for example, if you make a commitment with your spouse or your children, you bloody well stick to that commitment, you know, and you make them realize that that's important to you, because you miss 1 or 2 or 3, you know, that level of trust and respect and do I even matter quickly comes up. So I think, yeah, that's a big one for me, to prioritize and nurture the relationships that we've got. And we can still feel on call, because we pretty well are, but we've got to recognize that certain things can wait also. Just because someone texts you, you don't have to respond immediately. So
what do you mean by prioritize?
So I think, for example, if it's in a relationship, prioritize meaning if you have to set aside like a weekly dinner or a monthly dinner with your spouse, or a lunch date, or, you know, kids' sports or whatever, I think you got to prioritize it in a sense that they know that they're also important and that they matter, and that nothing else that happens that day is going to take me away from that lunch date or that dinner date with you. There's lots of little things that we can do, but and just, I think too, also thanking them for the little things that they do that make a big difference to us.
But hold on, you're talking about something else now. You're talking about gratitude. So let's put it on the side first. So let's stay on this first. The boys got anything else?
I think on Lou's point, for me, I think what Lou's trying to say is be in the moment. When you're with your family, you're with your family. When you're with the kids, you're with the kids. Probably the biggest thing to do with that is, and you're trying to say that as well, Lou, is diarise it. Put it in your diary, schedule it into your schedule. What's the old saying? What gets scheduled gets done. That sort of thing. And if it's a one-on-one dinner, it doesn't sound right. But if you're having dinner with the family, turn the bloody phone off. Put it on silent. If they want to buy a house now, they want to buy the house in 2 or 3 hours.
Exactly.
And just give people your attention during the time that you're there. That's probably one of the easiest things to do out of a lot of the things we're going to get around, is probably just to give people your focus. While people might say it may be the hardest, I think a lot of the other things I've written down are probably a lot harder than that. If you just give people your attention, your focus for that short period of time, I think that's worth its weight in gold. Even a 5-minute check-in with each of your family members of a morning, of an afternoon, quick chat. How's your day? How's your morning? What do you got on today? Well, you know, what'd you do today? So forth. I think it goes a long way as well. And it doesn't have to be in real estate. I think it goes with anything. I think that goes with just general good relationships, is people want to know you care.
Yeah. But as we know, real estate, like Cam says, can take you anywhere. It's just at any point in time, right? So this is why we're gonna have to try and focus more onto real estate advice. I believe that we have to start each month by setting time off in our calendar for family. I think that's number one. If people start with that, then they can achieve a lot more. So every single month, you probably will have to say, all right, this is so-and-so birthday, this is my daughter's birthday, these days I'm going to do this. Now, should you wish to go on the weekend? Well, set it all out. But then you have to also be careful, because after this, you have to go, do I have enough time with the rest of the month to achieve my targets or my goals? If not, then something's going to have to give. If you can't make the compromise, then real estate's not for you. You can't ask for wealth. You can't ask for a top income if you're not willing to put the time. So that doesn't mean that you put your priorities wrong. You have to make sure that you set time off with your family first.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff's well and good, but I think the first step is there's got to be an understanding that there is 100% going to be some sacrifice. To Thomas's point, like real estate, for example, there's busiest day is usually a Saturday, which is when kids' sports played. You're not going to get to every one of your kids' games, if any, early on, especially early on. If you're going to build a successful career, you have to sacrifice a lot. And that comes with understanding. Now, I think the way we build understanding, it's all right building it with our staff, but you have to build that at home. And I think the way of doing that is making sure the family's involved in the business. I mean, we've got our awards night coming up and everyone brings their partner, generally speaking, so they see once a year what it's all about, but that's seeing the good stuff. How many times during a year or is the family or the spouse involved in what's actually going on in other events, and getting them an understanding of what it's all about? Because setting time's all great, but if you're not putting food on the table, it doesn't matter how much time you got.
Hold on, Ken. You're talking about two subjects now. So we were around the time about time and priorities. Right, so I think that you're talking about sacrifice and understanding, which is the previous point we had. So I have no problem with going back with that point, but I think that I was trying to decipher Louise's point. Another thing that I believe for Louise's point is people who have children should really make sure that they make a point of having a week off every quarter. I think that's in part of the prioritizing and or making time for the family or setting time off. A lot of people don't care about these things, and in the end, if your family time suffers, then your time at work will suffer at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, and 100% right. I think and going back to what Chris said as well, we've got to make clear commitments and we've got to stick to them. And I think that's what we need to do with spouses. The other thing is, like the kids obviously are important, as you said, Cam, like most sports on Saturdays, but you don't have to be there every Saturday, but you can be there. I know people who haven't attended a sporting event for the whole of their kids' growing up years, which is just so sad to me. But you have to make that a priority. The present holds the key to a beautiful future, not the other way around. We have to be in the moment, and we have to not lose sight of that, no matter how important our job is and no matter how much putting food on the table.
Yeah, but I probably disagree with you, Lou. I think that it depends on which part of the career you're at. If you are at the start of your career, you can't think like that. You'll never make it. There's no way I've seen a guy do that in real estate. You don't start in real estate knowing 0% and then say, I first want all of these balance and then I go to work. That doesn't exist, and I've done this for 30 years now. I don't know where to start, but just tell people, if you're starting a career, everyone has got a lifespan in their career, and the first 2 years of a career, you have to be ready. There's no life. That's when you have to push that rolling ball. This is when you have to put all your energy. So we have to be careful. I see people who sit down and demand that, and then they get a tap on the shoulder from their leader because it's time to say goodbye to each other. And they go, hold on, but I was listening to Wine and Wisdom podcast, and they said, no matter what, you have to have balance. Whoa. You have balance. You earn the right to have balance. You don't demand balance. If you want balance before you get success, there's only one place. It's a dictionary. That's the only place where you get to be famous without the hard work. Yeah. In real estate, you must work hard. And I don't care what people say to you. The first 2 years, you have to be ready. And now we're going back to Cam's point, to communicate with your spouse. I will have no life. If I have a bit of a life in the first 2 years, that's our bonus. That's what I believe.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make. We were talking lots about prioritizing time, and no one was talking about, hang on, there's something we've got to do first. Right? And there's something we've got to do first. And that's, as I said, I envy.
Agree.
I envy a lot the young people coming in who are single and haven't got, they can go out on the weekend and Tinder's beautiful for that and all that sort of thing. But mate, we got to run. We got to sacrifice, and then you, as Thomas said, earn the right. I didn't want to go that harsh on it, but got to earn it first.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I totally don't disagree that you've got to run, but I also go back to, it's not the hours that you put in, it's what you put into the hours. And I think, some people are now able to accomplish in 4 days what they would have normally accomplished in 6 days, and sometimes 3 days in 5 days. I think, and nothing's the same as what it used to be. I totally agree with what you're saying, because we've all done that. And I'm not saying people don't want to run, but people are very aware of not running, running and forgetting about everything else. I think that's changed a lot. And as we've spoken about many times in the podcast since COVID, people's priorities have changed. People have been used to working 80-hour weeks, and suddenly they go, well, hang on, I've had all this joy of spending time at home and being able to work from home and still get exactly the same, if not more done, but still spend time with my family. They realize that they miss that. And I think, as I said, I don't disagree, but I think it's not as black and white as just running for 2 years.
But Lou, I think what you're getting at is, if you've been in real estate for a while, yes, there's you've earned your stripes, and you can sort of start to prioritize a little bit more me time, family time. But I think I agree with the boys in saying that if you're new in your career, and I did it at the beginning of my career, you just have to grind. You have to go, and there is no balance at the beginning of a new career in real estate, not an existing career, a new career. But the thing I wanted to say is, whether it's a new career or an older career, and you're looking for that time with your spouse, a lot of people have the time with their spouse but don't put the quality in. There's not the focus to the actual family. While they're present, they're actually not present.
Yep.
They're distracted with whatever that may be.
Yeah.
So they're not putting the quality into their family at the same time. So you can have an hour with your family, or you can have a day with your family. It's what you put into the time that you're with them.
Exactly.
I think that makes a huge difference as well.
Yeah.
All right. So I had another point. I think if you have a partner who is working in real estate, you have to make sure you set goals together. If you sit down and take a bit of time to set the goal, there's two or three different styles. One, they are the goals the way we know it. What are we going to get this year? What are we aiming for? And I think until you put it together, you're not going to be on the same boat. And therefore, the sacrifices, the communication mistakes can really happen. But when the goals are there together and they're on the fridge, or we see it every single day, sometimes we are more forgiving. Sometimes also understand why the partner is still out at 10:30 at night. Then there's a second style of goal that I believe we should have. I believe that people should really set a bar before they start and be happy when they reach that bar. The problem is when people don't set a bar and they keep on running and they want more, and then they want more, and which is a trait of NGE. We call it the NGE greed. When they had 20 sales, they wanting to have 30, and when they have 30, they want 50, because it's never enough. And they always find a way of selling it to people to push it for more. But in the long run, they just destroy everything along the way to get to just that material thing. So you have to know what enough is enough. Yeah. So those are the two goals I think that people need to get. I also believe that in these kind of goals, that is to make sure that people revisit them regularly. Like if every second week you can sit there and say, where are we at with the goal? It's not only very good for a salesperson to redirect his attention or her attention, but it's also very good for the partner to understand why this is why I'm sacrificing what we have.
Yeah.
I've read a list of things, and one of them was the shared vision, the shared goal of what you want to accomplish. I think that leads into another one, which I would say, which is the accountability factor, because if that shared goal is there, I mean, then I think it makes it a lot easier to hold each other accountable and to the moving. Oh, sorry, if you're in a, sorry, holding yourself accountable to moving towards that goal.
It's a bit tricky though, the shared accountability though, can't it?
Shared accountability is sort of what I was thinking about when we said this partnership thing about business, sort of within a business a partnership is what I was thinking about, because I wrote from two aspects on this. But being held accountable, I think that's going to come down. It's going to be a derivative of having that goal for the family. I think and everyone, not only your spouse, but the kids as well. You know, we want to go on that holiday, man. We want to go on that holiday.
How do you hold accountable? You come home, you've done 12 hours, your boss has already given it to you because you're behind target, and then your spouse says to you, why aren't you working harder? Is that what we're talking about? Or
I agree with Chris. I don't think that's what it is. I think that when you come home and your partner's now speaking to you about how we're going with that goal, with that trip overseas, that's enough. It doesn't matter when you work hard or not. Are we doing this? It fixes a lot of things, because a lot of real estate agents, they believe that if I can explain to my spouse that I'm working hard, that's it. But no, it's about, are we accomplishing our goals? Are we getting the things that we sat down and decided at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the month? If yes, then there's no problem. I still remember the first few months I was in real estate. The best thing that ever happened to me was to come home with a bonus at the end of my first quarter. Because when my wife looked at that, she then realized, hold on, this is why some nights he has to be out there. This is why he is not here when the baby is waking up. You know, so if you don't have that, then they're going to start questioning, why are we doing all of these things and not get anything back? So you have no choice. If you are with a partner and you're starting real estate, the first quarter you're in real estate, you must come home with a bonus check. And if I was a partner with someone who's in real estate, I would demand for a check in the first quarter.
I think how quickly and I've seen it, I haven't experienced it, I've seen it, but it's funny how quickly the pressures from home disappear when a check comes home on that 2 weeks after the first quarter. And they say money isn't everything. Jesus, it fixes a lot, doesn't it?
You're shopping in the wrong spot.
But you want for your family and you want for yourself to be making that check, because real estate is a bloody hard slog if you're not making any money. Right? It really is. The minimum wage isn't great. The hours are horrible. The expectation, as we've touched on, from the public on when you're going to be available is unreasonable in a lot of times. Then the expectation can be from spouses that you've got to deal with all that and be the family man or family woman and husband or wife or whatever at the same time, or girlfriend, boyfriend. It really, so you want that. You need that almost, because without it, why would you do it? That's got to be part of the shared vision. I really like the shared vision thing, because I was trying to think of different angles to come up, but it almost fixes every conversation. Right?
That's the one of the first things I've written down, and it's actually, unfortunately, one of the things I failed to do is sit down and write together goals. And going through this now, I'm going, we talk about what we want to do and we work towards that, but we never write them down and put them on the fridge and actually have them visible to everyone in the household all the time. And I'm thinking to myself, and I've just written a note for myself.
How much easier would the conversations be if it was just, where are we at? Where are we at with the goal?
It's so simple. Sorry about that, guys. My dog's going crazy.
The person coming home after a long day and they get given a hard time, they can say, where are we at with the goal? And the person at home who wants to give that person a hard time, they can say, where are we at with that goal? And everything's fixed. That should be nearly the end of the conversation.
Even the dog agrees.
You're even...
One of the other things that I wrote down,
you're either there or you're not there. So it answers...
The other thing I wrote down was like, shit gets hard, right? And sometimes you've got to have hard conversations, but more importantly, you've got to have fun. And I think that shared vision, it always leads to something that is fun, right? Whether it's a holiday or an investment, or it's something that you want to attain. I think that's driving the fun aspect in life. And I think it's so important that if you're going to sacrifice so much for a career, it's so important to be able to have fun with those, the ones that you love. So that was one of the aspects I wrote there.
Right. Another thing that I believe is crucial for people who are working in partnership in real estate, that is communication. And probably Chris just said you can have a hard communication. However, the rule is it has to be a positive communication. So it has to have a positive outcome. If you're having a toxic conversation, a conversation just to dump your frustration, then it's not maybe a good conversation. And I was told a long time ago, if you're going to have a toxic conversation, going back at the tree, if what you're saying makes sense, the tree will lose its leaves. If it does lose leaves, then it's worthwhile conversation. If it doesn't, maybe what you're saying it's not worth it. Okay, so first we have to have a positive outcome.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to say, all right, so what does positive outcome mean? It means what? If I said to you a communication has to have a positive outcome, what does it mean?
Solution to what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, and it's been a big thing for me as well, and surprise, surprise, it might come as a surprise to you guys, but it's something that I've learned through my studies of Brené Brown's material, is and
No.
you can
Try to do that with a serious
laugh
face.
all you want. You can laugh all you want. But I tell you what.
Try to do that with a serious face. Like then they won't give me shit if I do it with a serious face.
You can give me all the shit you want because I don't care. But here's the reality. Here's the reality. If you want to have a serious communication and you want to get and you want it to be positive and you want to get to the bottom of it and get to the heart of the problem, there's a thing that she talks about, and everybody has stuff on their mind, okay? And if you want to come home from work, and sometimes it's not been a good day and sometimes it has, and you want to talk about that, one of the things she suggests is in your communication with your spouse is ask them what's on your mind. But then when they're finished telling you what's on their mind, then ask them, now what's on your heart? Because there's two different answers that you're going to get there. Because really, we can quickly, hi, how was your day? How did you do? You know, what happened? Oh, this happened and that happened and that happened. But you really never get to the bottom of what might have been really, really good or possibly really bad or sad or hard, because it's just a skimming over the top of, do you know? And so it's like actually taking the time to say, okay, so, all right, so that's on your mind. Is there anything on your heart that we need to talk about? You know?
Yeah, but Lou, it's fine if we're asking you because I can see you doing it, but if my wife was to ask me something like this, I tell her what's on my mind. And when she said, what's on my heart? I said, my heart's empty. I'm telling you what's on my mind. So it's
you know what else is empty? My stomach.
That's not true, Thomas.
Is it possible that the male species does not have the ability just to talk about what's on the mind and what's on the heart at the same time?
It's not true. Look at Chris. He's so confused right now. You've always got something on your
mind. I've only got one thing on my mind most of the time when it comes to my wife. And it's food. I'm always hungry.
No, but I think, on a serious note, though, you know how we talk about in training, the problem that presents is usually not the problem. So if you use that as a bit of an analogy, if you like, what's on the mind is not always what's on the heart, and what's on the heart is what's going to be driving them. And so I think it's good to get to the bottom of it. You don't have to necessarily say it every day, but you probably
driving into a tree right now. But that's all right. Sorry, what?
Anyway.
You might be able to stop that.
Lou, he's just giving you hell because he's got no argument today. Okay, so don't worry too much about it. Just entertain him. You just have to understand that Cam comes from that kind of upbringing. If you can't build it, brick
Burn it.
others have built. Right?
Sorry, mate. I know how much you worship Brene Brown too. I'm very sorry.
He does.
I'm very sorry.
No,
On that point, Lou,
I happen to like Brené Brown, right? Because I think
during
I think
communication,
she's got some good points.
Yeah.
Now, in the communication, I just probably want to share with you another thing, very important probably for partners. Do not believe your partner. Period. Listen, I've been a salesperson. I've been a salesperson too, right? And when I come home from a disastrous day, it's always somebody's fault. I don't know why, but it always is somebody else's fault. It's either my colleague or the bloody sellers, or ultimately, if I have no sellers or buyers that day, it's actually my leader's fault.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky that my wife is a smart person, so she realized he's having a bad day. He has to point the finger at someone. And so this is my advice for young people or people who now are entering this industry. Do not believe your partners. How do you know it's real? Here's my recipe for you. The first team gathering that is available to you, go. Take the time before you really get into the growth. Take the time to have a few words to the leader, because you will know what the leader sounds like. Do you know how it's a funny thing, but as a partner, you can talk to someone's boss, and within 2 or 3 minutes, you know he's a liar or he's a con or whatever. Because once you have the leader, now you know how to gauge the information. You know, it's a funny thing. You go and you meet someone and you say, man, what a great leader. He's a this. And then suddenly 3 days later, you're listening to a partner who hasn't done anything in the last 3 quarters and who's about to be fired, received a letter warning. And now whatever he says is real, and whatever the leader was showing you a few days ago is wrong. I think that you must stop buying in, check it for yourself, and first team event possible, gauge the leader for yourself.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. That was sort of my point about getting involved, not being a passenger. You can't be. You can't be a passenger. Hopefully spouses realise, and the people in the industry realise, real estate, because we're overpaid and we don't do any work, has the ability to set everyone up for life, right? Yourself, your kids, everything and everyone, but you got to take some responsibility for that too, and that is getting involved. That is not buying into the bullshit that the partner's bringing home, because we're salespeople, man. We'll sell our way out. If we're any good, we'll be able to sell, and that's what people forget. And it is. I mean, we've talked about it in every other aspect of real estate. People blaming everyone else except themselves. That goes home. Right? That goes home. Chris, on that.
You know, people have a bad day, right? There's good days and there's bad days. Real estate's a roller coaster. I think I say to the partners, you know, with that communication side of it, when they come home for a bad day, say to them, you got 5 minutes to wallow in. I can see you're in a bad frame of mind. You've had a bad day. You've got 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to wallow in your crap. Do whatever you need to do. Then snap out of it, because your family wants the real you here, not the person that's receded into their cave and is just looping the crap in their head. I think sometimes someone needs a bit of a slap and a hard hand to say, you know what, it's okay to feel upset, but you can't stay there. I want you back in the family. And I think the good partner knows how to do that.
Yep.
It's a funny thing. Chris has got that kind of female energy I can feel. I mean, he speaks and I'm going, man, I wish I could think that way. But me, I'm very much like, if my wife was to say to me when I came home back in my younger days, go into your room and handle your negativity, I'd probably give it to her. You know?
No, you wouldn't. Don't bullshit, man.
All this utopian crap. Like
I'm having a bad day and you are giving it to me on top of it. Woman, don't you understand the kind of days I'm having?
No, but that's part of that's why if they're not involved, right, they can't have that understanding. Someone who's involved, like I started real estate a week after my third child was born. A week. My wife didn't see me for 18 months. I wasn't home before 8:30.
Lucky her. I'm sorry.
She's very lucky. She's very lucky. But whether we talked about a shared vision or not, we had a shared vision because we were bloody broke and we needed me to do what I was doing so we could not be broke anymore and we could feed said children. If I'd have come home from some of those days and that told me to go wallow somewhere else, mate, problem. So it isn't that easy.
What are you trying to say? Protective sex and suddenly you don't have to work that hard?
Yeah, suddenly, yeah. You only pull out what you don't put in. Put in. But I was also very lucky.
When you unleash him, this is what happens.
Yeah, just don't stir me. I'm trying. People said I talk too much, so now I don't talk, and everyone's like, "Why is Cam so quiet?" I was very, very lucky that Crystal and I worked together since we met. She was my boss almost when we met. So she wasn't in real estate when we started, but she knew what working for yourself was like. She knew what working hard was like. And I was very lucky. Yeah. I think she told me, because I nearly quit after 2 months. I've told that story before. I nearly quit real estate after 2 months, and we had a talk, and she said, "You thinking of quitting?" She just read it in me. She saw it in me. I hadn't vocalized it. I said, "Yeah, I don't know." And she said, "You can do it." That's all she said. And then I went back to work, but I'm one of the lucky ones, right? But the sacrifice that went along with that, it's not all, listen, guys, it can't all be roses. You can't come home and forget everything that's happened during the day before you walk in the door. Like, leave your work at home and leave your home at home. That's all bullshit.
You're right.
Right, life happens, and you can't go through a work day without thinking about what's going on in life, and you can't go home and not think about what's going on in work if you're committed. I know people who will switch off at 5:15 without hitting their targets for the day, without doing what they said they were going to do, and they're oblivious until 9 o'clock the next morning. God, they're going to be broke for a long time, but they do it. Right? So let's not paint this picture that everything can be roses the minute you walk through the door, and all you've got to say is, do this or do that, because we know it doesn't go like that. It doesn't go like that.
Then let's talk about some of the negative side, because I've stood on stage accepting awards alongside people who got divorced. And if they got divorced, for me, it means you didn't get your priority right. If they got divorced, for me, it means you didn't get your balance right. Because in life, you take the two people who hate each other, put them on an island, and one is Elle Macpherson, the other one is the ugliest person on the planet. Within 2 years, they fall in love with each other, right? So the people, if they have room for certain things, it will happen. We spoke about the good things. So let's talk about some of the nightmares in real estate and partnership then. Why is it that there's so much disagreements? There's so many divorces happening then in real estate. So many people who get on stage and say, "Thank you so much for my award," and then they lose their wife, their family, or their husband, their family, and they're going, "Hold on, what have I done? Is this cup, this plaque worth it?"
It costs less in child support. I think, look, for all the reasons we've told people to do stuff to keep things, is all the reasons that things go bad. But one thing real estate has, which will destroy everything, is so much ego, it's not funny. And there's a huge, not only financial reward, but reward from other people for success. And I think you can get addicted to that. And then all of a sudden, chasing the wins and chasing more, like you said, TL, and nothing ever being enough will eventually drive even the tightest partnership to fail, because you're prioritizing your self-worth, your fake sense of self-worth over something else. I think that's a huge problem. I think it's also, we drink a lot. I think there's a problem in real estate because of the stress levels, about the methods people use to de-stress and or not. And I think high pressure industry that rewards the best and sometimes rewards doing the wrong thing, it's only going to lead one way. And a lot of the time it does, unfortunately.
Yeah, but do you have, can you share an example that you've seen in real estate, like each of you, about how a partnership or a beautiful couple that just lose their way?
I can.
Yeah, okay, Louise.
I think obviously we do a lot of training and we do a lot of work on ourselves in our roles, and we grow. Sometimes it might look like we don't grow at all, but then suddenly we realize we look back and we've grown exponentially. And I think a lot of the times we outgrow our partners, and that might be mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, but also financially. You know, and it's a hard pill to swallow if you're a female and you're making more than your husband, you know, who's not in sales.
Now we're getting into stuff. Thank you, Louise. Yes, keep going.
And that's not always easy to take, particularly for blokes, and then sometimes the other way around, because it can happen to the other way where, you know, it's hard for the woman to accept. But I think the biggest thing is if you're not growing together, you're growing apart. And I think that's a big, what I've learned over the years is when I realized, when I sorted through the mess of, okay, what is it that I really want and need and have to do here? I needed to work out who I was, and then I could move forward from there. But I think if you're not taking the time to share what we learn, because a lot of what we learn is not real estate related, it's how do you handle people, situations, emotions, and all that stuff. If we're not sharing that with the ones we love, and we're going here and they're not catching up, we're outgrowing them. And it's easy to turn around at some point and sort of find all their faults. But I think it's also our responsibility to and to bring them on that journey, because you know, I think I've looked back sometimes in my life and thought, why did I do what I did? And then I realized, oh, that's because I felt I was so far ahead that there was no possible way of them catching up, or, you know, and or the other way, like I said, if you become the person that makes the money from a female's perspective, what do I need you for? You know what I mean? I know that sounds terrible, but it's a reality. It's a reality.
Nice. So nice. Thank you. Chris?
You know, I haven't experienced it. I don't know anybody who has experienced it. I've been fairly sheltered in my career, real estate career. I haven't had a lot of sort of people that I know separate through because of real estate. But I would imagine that it would probably be down to the partner feeling they're not a priority in the other person's life. And they're always playing second seat to whatever situation their partner's dealing with at that time. And it could be a buyer or a seller or whatever it may be, or a new listing, or, you know, a staff member having an issue. They're just always playing second seat. And I think that on a continual basis will lead to a feeling of resentment and disappointment and disinterest and so forth. So I think that would be I believe a high thing that would force people apart.
Okay, so for people who are listening, I mean, how do you make your partner a priority?
Well, I think like we said it right at the beginning, is dedicating time for your spouse, dedicating that one-on-one. And again, I'll make it sound like a business, but dedicating that you know, that date night, or, you know, whether it's once a week, once a fortnight, whatever it is. And when you get home for just a short period, just be interested about what they did for that day.
But rather than, sorry, just exactly what you just said then, treating it like a business. That sounds worse than what you actually mean. But we would never book an appointment with a future seller or a prospective buyer and ever be late or not turn up, would we? But why do we do it to our spouses?
Great point.
Why do we do it to our spouses? And I've done it myself and I'm guilty of it. We'll go out for dinner. Oh, sorry, I can't. I've got a listing appointment. Why the hell do we do that to the people that we love the most? Yet we would never do it to a future seller or a prospective buyer.
Because we don't care about them that much.
That's right. We're stupid ass salespeople. But no, the reality is we pay
No. It's the truth though. And the other truth is because our partner allows us. I think that our partners or the whoever is not in real estate should not accept lateness. I think that if you accept lateness, you're accepting already the crumbling of standards.
Exactly.
And the only standards that you should accept is excellence, nothing else, not excuse, nothing else.
Accepting that as a partner is just enabling that to keep going. And I think the reason why we do it is because they are our family, our loved ones, our kids, and we always have that she'll be right mate approach. They'll get over it, they'll forgive me. We would never do that to somebody who doesn't really matter at the end of the day, you know. So
just going through the list of things that I wrote down, one of them, and is very sort of important on this fact, is respect.
Yeah.
And having that respect for your partner, and your partner will be there when you wake up and when you close your eyes. The next listing or sale will change with the wind, but that partner will be there forever. And I think that respect is paramount. And I think that's probably where a lot of relationships within real estate, they get caught up in that, the chase for the applause or the you know, the decimal points in the bank account, whatever it may be. They get caught up with that and forget the beginnings and who helped them. No one got to where they are by themselves. And if you're in a partnership, when talking about spouses in real estate, you are there because your partner supported you.
Yeah.
To have the respect and the honesty with yourself and them to give them the time that they deserve.
Yeah, 100%, Chris. And I think too, in our positions as leaders,
Cam doesn't agree.
Oh, I'm so conflicted.
But I think what I was going to say, the other thing too, is in our position, it's hard. It's not hard. It's quite easy to come home and take out our not take out our frustrations, but let loose our frustrations on our partner. And that's not a good thing to do. It's good to have them as a sounding board, but sometimes we come home and because, I mean, I can only speak from a personal experience, sometimes you feel like you can't really have those conversations with anybody else. But you can't, they're also not a garbage bin. They're not there to just listen to all our crap at the end of the day. But I think sometimes we can, just be a bit more mindful of that, and just not, if you don't see each other for 12 or 13 or 14 hours of the day, and the only time you do see each other is my life and this and that wrong and this person and this sale and that.
In saying that, Lou, I'll disagree with you there on that sort of stuff. That's the sort of person you need to say to you, maybe put it in perspective for you. And sometimes you need a sounding board to listen to your crap, to say, oh, boo-hoo, poor you, or to say, you've got an issue. How about we talk about how you can get over it or whatever, right?
Yeah. I don't disagree with that, but I think having that because you're not, like, for example, if I was doing that every day because I couldn't be bothered calling anybody else, or I couldn't be bothered asking, or I don't want to ask for help, or I'm fearful of what other people are going to say if I do ask, so I just save it all up, and then when I get home it's like a verbal diarrhea onto that person, and it's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even know what would you do in that situation. I don't know. I'm not in your field. I'm not in your industry.
Yeah.
No, do you know what I mean? It's like that dumping of.
So what, you bottle it up and don't talk to anybody about it?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing.
Just bury it deep down. Just bury it. Bury it. It's never going to come out. Just bury it. Don't talk to anybody.
It'll always come out.
I think if you do that, and I think it manifests in bad ways, and usually manifests against those you love the most.
Exactly.
Kids, spouses, brothers, sisters. If you don't share it, I think you've got to share it. I've done it myself. Just try to bury it. It comes out. The shit comes out, man. You can't.
It always does. It always manifests and comes out in ways that you don't expect or realize, and when you least expect it as well. So, it's hard.
You look confused before,
it's hard not to do that.
Hey?
You looked confused before.
Oh, we've gone so far away from it that I'm so
missing away from what though?
Well, from what Well, I was conflicted about. Now we've gone to not talking when you get home, but I don't know. So I'm even more confused than ever. But
let's look at how Cam does his thing. When I can't build, I'll destroy.
I'm not destroying anything.
Let's do it, Cam.
No, I'm not trying to destroy. But you made a pretty strong statement that if you miss a dinner or you're late for a dinner, you don't care about your partner. But I know if we've got a shared vision, all that stuff that we talked about before, and I haven't made base, so I'm not going to get a com check, and there's 2 weeks left in the quarter, and it's a choice of having dinner or getting that check for our shared vision or to pay the bills. I know where it's not even I know where I'm going. I know where I was because I had those choices to make.
All right, wait, and then you can go again. Let's go back 2 or 3 lines and now replace it. So now you're about late for another appointment. What do you do? Now you have forget the family and now think it's an appointment with a listing appointment.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Oh, I ring and say I'm 10 minutes late.
Okay, now you can't ring them. Let's say that you know they have no phone. What do you do?
Turn up late.
Now that's someone who's talking. Seriously, mate, you wouldn't be late. All right. So, and what you do is that you push whatever you have there on the side. You say to people, "I'm very sorry." Okay. I'd love to take this again. You wouldn't want to be late. Okay?
I have been late.
Well,
if we're being honest,
you would be late at my listing appointment. I'd ask you
I'm
to.
getting it.
So I'm very sorry. And the problem is that if we treated an appointment with our family, our spouse, like an appointment with a listing appointment, we wouldn't be late. And this is
so you're saying don't turn up late with your spouse, don't turn up at all. That's better.
No, just when you make a commitment at home, that you need to respect it. I truly believe that crap about, man, well, because I'm busy. No, that is an excuse. That is a lousy way of saying, really, I don't care.
Yeah,
you know, Cam, on your like going against what TL just said, right? Just on your point, you said you've got a shared vision toward a goal, yeah. And you have a family dinner booked in for a certain time and so forth. If the family has buy-in to that shared vision and you have to be late to help them achieve that shared vision, everyone's going to accept that lateness, mate.
No.
And it's going to be a phone.
Someone rings up and it's happened, right? We can't say it hasn't happened. Usually a listing appointment is booked in advance. Usually you've got a day's notice, 2 days notice, 2 weeks notice. There has been many an occasion where someone has rang up, said, I'm picking an agent tonight. If you can't get out tonight, you're not getting the job. And let's be honest, most of our jobs are worth up 20 grand's a minimum now, right? So 20 grand's the lowest. So back to that position before, but on that same day, I've got a family dinner booked.
I'm very sorry, sir. But right now, if you are going to make a decision on employing an agent based on getting one that is going to say to you right now that he's available, you're probably about to get an appointment with the wrong agent. Because if there's an agent right now who hasn't got his diary filled and full with appointments, important appointments to look after people, but he's waiting for your call to go and see you, he's probably not a very busy agent.
Great line, but who here says no to that appointment?
Good luck to you. Bye.
Who here honestly says no to that appointment?
Unless you have really, this is why we talk about it at the beginning, unless we have priorities that are unshakable, then everything else can shake. This is how I see. This is how I see people taking advantage of their wife, lying to their wife, taking advantage of their children, cheating their family. I'm sorry. When you start on a small thing, you'll finish with a big thing. My mother always says, you start stealing an apple, you will finish stealing a cow. So the thing is, no, it has to be unbendable. If my appointment with my family was to be respected like an appointment with a listing, I'm on time. Do you know, I sometimes I have to drive 2 hours to get to a place. Last week I had to be up in Gorican. I was there before the leader even turns up. Hey, I was there, 40 minutes before the appointment. Why? Because if it's important, to be there, it's important to be ahead of schedule. You know, so if I did that with appointment, I do that with everything else. If there's an appointment with my family, it has to be on time.
You mentioned before, mate, and I don't want to keep arguing with it, but I'm going to keep arguing with it. The bloke who's been 3/4 of no results, he's been given a letter from his boss that you're not hitting target. That exact scenario that I mentioned before comes up. Someone's ring says you're out tonight or you're not getting the job. You expect him, that person then is going to go, okay, I've got dinner with my wife. Sorry, mate. Like, I don't think that's realistic, mate. I don't think that's...
If he's a good salesman, man, he will still have a dinner with his wife and he will have that appointment.
I think 999,000 out of a million are taking that appointment.
That's why 999.
If you're a good salesman, be on the phone to his wife, said, darling, we're going out to dinner, but we're going to upgrade. We're buying the good champagne because I'm about to list this property tonight. I'll see you at 9.
What you said was beautiful, Thomas. That line was perfect, and now people might be able to use that line. But I would have taken that appointment. I would have.
I think going back to what we were saying earlier when we said, you know, for your first 2 years, you're going to grind. That's acceptable, I suppose, at that level. But after you've done that grind and you realize what real estate can consume your life if you let it. That's the key.
You take the appointment.
I would never take the appointment, Cam. I can sit here.
Your hand went like this. Your hand went like this, and I know it went like that because you take the appointment. Your hand never went. I know exactly what happened there, right?
Cam, I'm sitting here right now, and I'm telling you right now.
You're on the bones of your ass, and you've got a choice between $30,000 or a steak, and I know which one's going to make your wife or husband a lot happier. You're taking the appointment, and I know because you weren't forthright in saying that.
No, you
Thomas
don't.
is the only one who definitely wouldn't take that appointment.
I've been in real estate for 13 years.
I reckon back in the day, Thomas would have took that appointment too.
Maybe. But you can't speak for me. You can't speak for anybody unless they're in your shoes. So don't pretend that you know what I would do for 1 second. I'm telling you.
I don't have to pretend. Your hand was doing this.
Now, hand movements mean shit, Cam. We're sitting behind.
Your body language means nothing, Thomas.
We're sitting behind a computer screen. Don't think that you know me behind a computer screen. I am sitting here telling you, I don't care what you're going to say. I'm telling you right now in my position where I stand, and I've been doing this for 15 friggin' years.
But how many people are standing in your position?
If I have an appointment with my family, that appointment, regardless of what the other appointment is,
I'm not talking about people in your position, Lou.
No, but Cam, you're trying to tell me what I would do. You're trying to tell me what I would do. You're trying to tell me what I would do. You don't speak for me. You don't have that option. You're not my brain. You're not my mind. You don't get the choice to decide what I would do and sit here on a bloody podcast and tell the world what I would do. I would not take that appointment regardless of whether I'm on the bones of my ass. I know at the end of the day what it's worth to me, and I know what I would do.
I'm calling bullshit. I'm calling bullshit.
Well, you call bullshit.
I don't reckon you right now would take the appointment, Lou, but you 10 years ago, 100% taken that appointment.
Well, that was the point I was trying to make before you cut me off. In the beginning, before you knew right from wrong, if you're a newbie in the industry, before you knew right from wrong, of course
that's what I said.
But when you're this far in, you realize what it costs you to take that appointment and not take that appointment. I can tell you now, the appointment for the listing, as far as I'm concerned, see you later. The appointment with my family is the most important at the end of the day.
I think you knew right from wrong all the time in your life. It depends on your point in life that you're going to make that decision.
And what happened?
Wrong is right. I'm going to be able to beat the mortgage. Wrong.
Right. Let's pay the bills.
So I don't know. I think I still take the appointment. I have to say, we're going to a better restaurant, but I still take the appointment. But
yeah, but do you know what? Do you know what you got to think about? Okay, you get that listing. You may not even sell the bloody thing at the end of the day. If you don't know how to service it, you don't know how to work it, you don't know how to market it. You may not even service
any of that if you don't have it.
Yeah, of course, Cam. But what happened? You don't get a second chance every time you let your family down, do you? Every time you do, it's like we talk about.
My point is taking the appointment and feeding your family and paying your bills, letting the family down. That was my whole point. Lou, I've never said for 1 second you in your position now would take that appointment. All my examples were people who have got a choice between doing the right thing by paying for their family or doing the right thing by having dinner with their family. And I
Yes.
think we all know, without any bullshit, that with financial pressure the way it is, if you have a choice of paying to keep the lights on or having a steak, you're choosing to keep the lights on. And I don't think by choosing to keep the lights on, you're doing the wrong thing by your family. That is what I was saying.
And what we try to say,
else.
and what we try to say to you, Cam, is that you're wrong.
Yeah,
that,
I agree, mate.
that if you are in a partnership in real estate, you make the decision together. That what you do is you pick up the phone and say, darling, I'm running late. I've just got this. All right, I don't know. If I take this appointment, I will be running late. And decided together. I think that that's what Louise is really trying to bring it up to, and she's pushing it. But Lou, I don't know. I have to ask this question. This is one of the few podcasts, a very rare podcast, where I feel you're very much talking with a lot of hindsight, where there's a lot of introspective about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So would you like to share more with us and not listen to Ken?
No, but yeah, you're right. You're right, Thomas, because hindsight's one of those wonderful things. But yeah, I am, because like it's a heated topic, and when you look at our partners in the industry and you look at how much this job takes out of you, but then you look at what it takes out of your partner as well. And the things that I looked back on, as I've already spoken about, is how can things go wrong, or how can things change? And one of the big things was the growth thing, I think, and talking about now, and that's where I tried to make that point then, is in the beginning you can get just focused on real estate, my career, my position, my reputation. That's everything, because if that's the point in life that you're at, then everything else, regardless of how much they matter to you, everything else just gets pushed by the wayside, and that's all you focus on. But looking back now at the things that I haven't, the mistakes that I've made, and the things where I've realized now, my God, would life be different now, or would I have a different relationship now with my kids, or yeah, you know, like the money side of things, you're either a good agent or a bad one, and that's the thing. But you know, you can always, and we've talked about it already, it's not the hours you put in, it's what you put in the hours. You can accomplish just as much in smaller hours by going to work when you need to go to work. But when you need to be home and you need to be with your family, you need to keep those appointments, because I know of people in this industry that don't have any relationships, and it's because they've poured everything into their career, which in 10 or 15 years time, when their career is no more because they're retired, what have they got left? Their family's upped and left, they got their own lives, they don't really care. That time is gone. That opportunity to build something is gone. You might have had a million raving clients, but you don't have a raving family, and at the end of the day, they're the only ones that are going to be there at the end of the day. That's the difference, I think.
One of the things that I also would like to address is that you're one woman and we the three men, and men, we only have one thing in our head, that is about conquest. Whether it's business or in life, it's all about going out and get things. But I feel that as a lady, there's a sound of regret in your voice that I don't know whether the boys got it, and I'm just trying to have a look. Is it different for a man or woman with a partner in real estate?
I think it's
and are you and is it maybe time to let go of guilt?
Yeah, I think it's different, because as you say, men are typically the breadwinners. They bring home the bacon and all the rest of it. I've been that person for a long, long time, and that's just normal to me now. But I think, why did you ask me that?
Okay, that's all right.
I think
This is when Ken's normally supposed to be interrupting you.
no, that's okay.
Maybe it's time to let go of the guilt, no?
No. I think the difference is You guys do exactly what I do in terms of running your teams. One minute.
All right, Cam. So what were you going to say? I mean, to disagree?
With what? No, I think, mate, I agree with you. Lou's speaking from a place quite clearly of regret from stuff that's happened in the past, and that's that's put onto what's happening now. And you don't have to, look. That's why everything we're talking about.
I'm trying to talk from my point of view, but in being in your positions as leaders and managers and having a team, but there's no role like a mother. And I think the hard thing is and I don't want to sound bad. I don't want this to come across bad, but you all know, and you all rely on your wife at the end of the day. If you don't turn up, they will. If you don't turn up, they will. If dinner's not ready, they've got it.
Yep.
If school excursions aren't organised and you forgot about it, they've remembered.
Yep.
I don't have that. It's me to do my job and do the mum thing as well. And that's why it might sound like regret, but maybe it is. But I think from a woman's point of view, if you're getting into sales and you're in a position like me, don't, like, you've got to, it's a different role.
Yeah. We're going to let you just recuperate. I think that's the best answer you ever done. I don't think that Brené Brown would have done it as good as what you've done, Louise. I think that your answer is very nice for women. I think that men, we got it easy. If we have a partner who's not in real estate, I think we got it easy. The way we've been talking from the beginning to now, it's almost like, if she understands and she knows our priority, then she should suffer. And I'm not talking about same-sex partnership here. I'm talking about the partnership that I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I wonder whether we men would accept the same thing if we were on the other side. If we were to go home from our job as an electrician and our wives running around until 9, 10 o'clock, 10:30, I don't know whether we would do the same thing. I don't know whether half of the answers that we come up with would have been the kind of answer we would have accepted.
Listen, it goes. Listen, we're not going to have a cry-off. We're not going to have a cry-off. But I took a job in real estate, knowing well that. Hey.
No, it's all right. It's about the male stuff. Let's go.
That's the male stuff. So it's the male stuff. We just talked about divorces, right? We talked about divorces and how common it is. I had my son half of every week from my first relationship. To take a job in real estate, I had to give most of that up. I now see him one day a fortnight. So it's not just women, and I don't know if it's any harder for them. We all have to sacrifice, and that's why I've been banging on so much about sacrifice. And it's not as easy as just come home and talk and just do this, right? It's not that easy. What Lou has gone through as a mother it's bloody hard, because a career in real estate is hard. That's why the other person involved has to be so supportive, and it goes both ways. That 100% goes both ways. We don't get to throw. Don't undermine your gender, TL, by saying, "Oh, we got it easy." Because in a perfect world, yeah, we do. In a perfect world, potentially the male's got it easier, mate. But the world isn't perfect, brother.
All right.
The world is far from perfect. And there's a lot of men out there who are the mother and the father at the same time. That's not me, because without my spouse, that one day, even with my other son, wouldn't happen, right? Without her, none of that would happen.
All right, let's go back to asking you, Lou. So, what advice would you then give ladies in real estate and in the Korean real estate with a partner who is not in real estate?
Yeah, make sure that they know what you're getting into. Similar to what we said at the beginning, it's only natural for us to feel like we're on call all the time because we are in a very demanding position. We're dealing with people's biggest assets, and sometimes they need us at times when it's not natural or it's not normal. If they do a 9 to 5 job or a 7 to 3 or a 7 to 4, and they can come home, and especially if they're not their own boss as well, they can switch off and go home, and they don't have to worry about work or life or businesses or anything else, etc. Know that what they're getting into, and make sure that they know and are aware that sometimes you have to do what you have to do. But I think also from, like as you said, Thomas, hindsight, looking back, and I don't think it matters if you're a female or a male, that real estate, it's a job that, as I said, I don't want it to sound negative because I think it's a good thing, but real estate can consume your life to some extent, and I don't think that's a bad thing, because if you really care about the people, then it should consume your life because you've got their biggest assets in your hands and you're wanting to get the job done. But I think having somebody who understands that and who also is accepting of that and realizes that there's certain hours or odd hours or long hours that you have to do to get the job done. I think the other thing, but I think like the hindsight thing, looking back, if you want to be a young mum, or not even a mum, but a female, and most females want to have children, you have to make sure that you find a balance, because you can always be a real estate agent, like always. There's no, you can start at 60 and still be a good one for 10 years, and you can probably make more money in 10 years than what you did any other time in your career, but you can't go back and be a good mum if you've lost that opportunity.
Okay, let's do a closing time now, and Lou, we're gonna get you to close right at the end. So let's start with the boys first. So who wants to start first? All right. Oh, you start? Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, you can start.
I promise not to break down.
That will allow me to disagree with you after that.
Yeah. I think if you plan on being in a couple or a partnership, whatever form that takes, real estate's not going to work for you if you aren't both on the same page. And that might be hard to hear and it might be brutal, but we talked before, you asked before, Tom, I said, you ever seen a relationship breakdown because of real estate? I actually haven't seen a relationship breakdown because of real estate, but I've seen too many promising real estate careers break down because of relationship. And all those people who I have seen that haven't, a very broad comment, I'll get a lot of hate for it, but they haven't exactly bettered their lives because of it, right? They've chosen the pressure from home over the job, and no one has won out of it, I don't think. So, jump into real estate at your own risk. If you think you can do it and have a happy family, you better make sure you're all on the same page, because too many people try it and aren't, and it doesn't go well one way or the other.
Nice. Okay. Chris?
So to add to what Cam said, just real quick, and I'll talk quick because I'm an auctioneer. So, and I only just realised this literally like minutes ago. When I first got married, my wife had a career change, and it was a thing we agreed upon. She went back to university to get a master's degree in business, and she studied for 4 years. Actually, it wasn't less than that, to get her degree. And there was a lot of sacrifices made to do that. And then when I started real estate, exactly the same. There's a lot of sacrifices to do that. Any major change that's worthwhile, they'll come with sacrifices. It'll come from sacrifices with both sides. Relationships fall down I think the only thing is they'll fall down regardless, real estate or not real estate. I just believe real estate may amplify or speed up that process. If people aren't on the same page earlier on in their marriage, they won't be later on in their marriage unless they fix those issues. So I think get into real estate, have clear communication with your spouse about what's going to happen. It's a great industry to get into. Work hard, but understand your families comes first, but there has to be sacrifice. And that usually comes at the value of your family, but you can communicate that with each other.
Oh, nice. Okay. For me, if you are going to be in real estate together, as we spoke about in the beginning, you have to work on your SMS, which is skill, mindset, and self. And I think that the most important thing is about self. Unless you grow together, you'll grow apart. And self is the biggest thing, because one of the things that I spoke about in my book, NGE, the biggest lead on self is NGE. And so some people, as they grow through real estate, because they go to more seminars, they go to these things, they actually have at one stage an aha moment, a lid that is removed. And suddenly they go home and now they want more than the level of connection they had before with their partner. And suddenly it's not the same anymore. And because the other partner does not know how to really grow into that level of self, then there is a phenomenon that happens, and a discordance. You have a look at real estate, no matter where we are, there's a lot of growth. We training constantly, because unless we train, we get left behind. And the biggest advice, if you are going to be together, besides communication, goals, and all the sacrifice put together, commit to growing on self together every single day.
Yep.
And before you go, Lou, thank you so much for being real today.
It's okay. Sorry, I had to put the dampener to the podcast, but I think the message is that we need people to understand is real estate is a hectic lifestyle, and it's a crazy career in terms of what it takes out of you. But the reality is we can have a great career, but we can also have a great family life, and we don't have to let one down for the other, or vice versa. We just need to know how to balance that. And I think like what you said, Thomas, we grow a lot in our careers as people in self, but in our skill set and in our mindset, but we need to take those along with us who matter and make sure that they're growing with us. I think it's okay. Yes, everybody has to do the grind. Like we talk about the 2 years, your first 2 years as a benchy or whatever it is, as an assistant, you all have to do that grind. There's no question. I don't doubt that for 1 second. We've all done it. But from a woman's perspective and looking back now, if that grind lasts, you can still grind, but you've got to learn to know when to not grind and that you've grinded enough, because you can get bogged down in trying to keep up with the men and trying to keep up with if you're the breadwinner and if you're the, you're trying to build that reputation, and it's all coming about from ego and what are people going to think if I don't? What are people going to think if I do? And if it's coming from that, but the cost of that is, what is it costing you and your relationship with your family, your spouse, your kids? That's where the damage is done. Like, you can literally have the best of both worlds. You just need to know how to manage it and know when enough's enough. Like what you said earlier, Thomas, you don't have to feel bad. And I think that's a big thing. Sometimes we can feel guilty because we should be working. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know how to sleep in. I don't know how to sleep in. If the sun's up, I'm up, because if I'm not up, I'm not working. And even though I'm not technically working, it's a Sunday, I still feel like I'm not working. But it's this crazy thing we do to ourselves, and that, we go to work and we do what we do and we put in the best effort that we can, but we need to make sure that that effort is equal in terms of our career and our family.
All right. Thank you very much for today, guys. Lou, beautiful podcast. Thank you. See you, boys.
See you guys later.
See you, lady. Bye.
I'll talk